I just killed my mom and my sister.
What?
I just killed my mom and my sister.
You just killed your mother and your sister? How did you do that?
I shot them with a .22 revolver.
It was a dark and stormy night in Aledo, Texas. The gated community was peaceful and quiet, with the residents enjoying the serenity of their upscale homes. But that peace was about to be shattered by a phone call to 911.
Ponce County 911, where is your emergency?
My house.
What's the address?
152 River Creek Lane.
Okay, what's the emergency?
I just killed my mom and my sister.
At 12:30 a.m. on October 4, 2012, a 17-year-old student named Jake Evans dialed the emergency number and calmly informed the dispatcher that he had shot and killed his mother, Jamie Evans, and his sister, Mallory.
You just killed your mother and your sister? How did you do that?
I shot them with a .22 revolver.
And what is your name?
Jake Evans.
Jay Evans?
Jake Evans.
Are you sure they're dead?
Yes.
The dispatcher was shocked and asked why he would commit such a heinous act. Jake replied that he wasn't even angry with them, but that it just happened. He had been planning on killing someone for a while now, he said, and that he didn't like the way people treated each other.
Okay, is there any reason that you were so angry at your mother and your sister?
I don't know. I wasn't, it's weird, I wasn't even really angry with them. It just kind of happened. I've been planning on killing for a while now.
The two of them, or just anybody?
Pretty much anybody.
Why?
I don't know. I don't really like people's attitude.
Right.
I think they're very verbally rude to each other and stuff like that.
Right.
I don't know.
It's okay.
It's just my family. I guess this is really selfish to say, but I felt like they were just suffocating me in a way. I don't know. Obviously, I'm, I guess, evil.
Jake went on to describe the murders in graphic detail, saying that he shot Mallory as she came out of her room, and then again as she rolled down the stairs.
I told my sister that my mom needed her.
Mm-hmm.
She was in her room, and she came out of her room, and I shot her, and she rolled down the stairs, and I shot her again.
He then went downstairs and shot his mother 3 or 4 times.
And then I went down and I shot my mom about maybe 3 or 4 times.
He didn't want them to feel any pain, so he used a gun, but things went wrong.
My sister, she came down the stairs and she was screaming, and I was telling her that I'm sorry, but to just hold still. And I shot her in the head.
When the dispatcher asked if he was planning on killing anyone else, Jake said that he was thinking about killing pretty much anybody.
And I've been planning on killing for a while now.
The two of them, or just anybody?
Pretty much anybody.
The dispatcher kept Jake on the phone for 20 minutes until Parker County Sheriff deputies arrived. Jake was arrested outside his house, waiting with his hands above his head. He was later charged with capital murder and denied bond. It was later revealed that Jake and Mallory had been homeschooled and that Jamie had worked for the Aledo Independent School District as an assistant principal and first-grade teacher until she left in 2004. Jake's father was out of town on business, and their 2 other sisters no longer lived at the house.
Where's your dad?
He's out of town. My oldest sister, she lives with my grandparents. I have another sister who's out in college. She was going to come out to visit us tomorrow.
According to the 911 transcript, Jake asked the dispatcher if there were any medications he could take to prevent nightmares.
I'm like really worried about like nightmares and stuff like that. Are there any type of medication for that and stuff?
He was only taking an over-the-counter allergy medication, he said. He also confessed to taking the gun from his grandfather's house across the street, who had been a member of the Fort Worth police force for nearly 3 decades. Neighbors described the Evans family as devout Christians who were always very kind. Jake was described as a quiet teenager who stayed out of trouble. The community was left in shock and disbelief by the events of that night, struggling to make sense of such a senseless act of violence. As the investigation continues, it is yet to be determined what led to this tragedy. But one thing is certain, 2 lives have been lost, and a family and community will never be the same.
Emergency.
I just killed my dad. What do I need to tell you?
So you said you just killed your dad?
Yeah.
The sun was just beginning to rise as 17-year-old Anthony Templet laid in his bed, desperately trying to get some sleep. He had a long day ahead of him and needed to be well rested to face it when he was abruptly woken up by his father, Bert Templet, at 3 a.m. Bert was drunk, and the two began arguing about a phone call to a family member. The details of the call were unclear, but the argument quickly escalated into a physical fight. Anthony tried to escape the situation by going to his room, but Bert followed him, determined to continue the argument. Feeling concerned and in fear for his life, Anthony reached for two guns that he kept in his room. Bert, seeing the guns, lunged towards his son, but he was too late. Anthony pulled the trigger, and Bert fell to the floor, shot in the head and torso. Anthony frantically dialed 911 and informed them of what had happened. When the authorities arrived on the scene, they found Bert dead, and Anthony was taken into custody.
You shot him 3
I'm not
times?
sure how many times I hit him. I know there's blood on the floor, so I know he's at least been shot once.
Okay.
I shot 3 times at him. He's on the ground.
Okay, you shot him 3 times with a gun?
Yes,
Okay.
100%. Or at least I tried to. He tried to attack me. We got into a fist fight, and I ran in his room and locked the door and grabbed the gun. And I unlocked the door, and then I shot him.
The story of Anthony Templet is one of prolonged abuse and the psychological damage that can be inflicted upon a child. Years before Bert had taken Anthony away from his family, he had been charged with assault 3 times between 2001 and 2002. In 2007, Bert's ex-wife had even filed a protective order, but by then it was too late.
According to the teen's sister and attorney, 17-year-old Anthony Templet suffered an extensive history of abuse. Attorney Jared Ambo says the father who was killed, Bert Templet, kept the teen isolated from his mother, who says her son was taken against her wishes.
Anthony's kidnapping came to light when his sister, Natasha, saw him on the news after his arrest. She recognized him immediately and was shocked to find out what had happened to her brother. The abuse that Anthony suffered at the hands of his father was the final straw in a long history of trauma. And while one could argue that the murderer in this case was the victim and the killer was the one who was victimized, the truth is always more complicated than it appears. In 2001, after pleading no contest, Anthony was sentenced to 5 years of supervised probation with credit for time served. The sentence was contingent upon Anthony earning his GED, attending counseling, and either finding a full-time job or enrolling in school full-time. His record would be expunged if he would continue all of these requirements.
When I saw this injustice, my thought was, absolutely no way should this kid be in jail. Well, that's the outcome we have. It may not be the thing we want, it may not be perfect, but this is an imperfect system. We try to find the best possible justice, and I think that we've got that here today.
It's good. I'm very happy. It's the best thing that could happen.
The story of Anthony Templet is a cautionary tale about the long-lasting effects of abuse and the importance of seeking help. It raises questions about what we would or could have done in a similar situation and highlights the complexities of the justice system.
911, where's your emergency?
Yeah, I just killed my brother.
You what?
I just killed my brother. I don't know the address.
What do you mean you killed your brother?
I stabbed him 3 times, 1 in the back, twice in the throat.
On the morning of Tuesday, April 19th, 2022, a male caller dialed the Portage County Sheriff's Office and reported that he had killed his brother. The recording of the 911 call, which lasted over 2 minutes, was later provided by the Portage County Sheriff's Office. The male caller did not identify himself by name or provide the address, but hung up after 45 seconds.
Are you in window?
Yes, I am.
I'll
be waiting for you.
Hold on, let me get you to Wyndham. Hold on 1 second.
Now.
However, during the remaining 100 seconds or so, the sheriff's dispatcher informed the Wyndham police dispatcher that he had traced the call to 9538 Cloverfield Road in Wyndham. The caller was later identified as Nathan A. McCady, an 18-year-old male who was charged with first-degree felony aggravated murder in the fatal stabbing of his 11-year-old brother Joseph McCady. According to a complaint filed by Wyndham Police in Portage County Municipal Court in Ravenna, Joseph was stabbed in the neck, the back, and the stomach. The complaint identified the apartment where the crime took place as Nathan McCady's home. During the 911 call, the caller stated that he had stabbed his brother 3 times, once in the back and twice in the throat.
I stabbed him 3 times, 1 in the back, twice in the throat.
He then begged the dispatcher to come and get him, saying that he would turn himself in.
Come get me right now. I turn myself in.
However, before the dispatcher could fully come on the line, the The caller stated, "I'm hanging up," and was not heard from again.
911, where's your emergency?
Yeah, I just killed my brother.
You what?
I just killed my brother. I don't know the address.
What do you mean you killed your brother?
I stabbed him 3 times, one in the back, twice in the throat. Come get me right now. I turned myself in.
Are you in Wyndham?
Yes, I am.
All right,
I'll be waiting for you.
Hold on, let me get you to Wyndham. Hold on 1 second.
Now.
About 2 minutes after the initial call, another unidentified male called the sheriff's dispatch center. The second caller was connected to a Wyndham dispatcher and begged the dispatcher to send someone to the Cloverfield Road address, as someone was dead after being stabbed. The dispatcher informed the caller that Wyndham police and EMS were on their way.
911. Fire EMS.
Hello?
Hi, this is 911. Do you have an emergency?
Yeah, we got a person dying here.
What's that?
Yeah, a person dead. They're 12 years old.
There's a person dead?
Yeah, come on, I need somebody. Help me.
Okay, let me get you over to Wyndham. Stay on the phone for me.
Hurry up. Yes. Hurry up.
Nathan McCady was arraigned in Portage County Municipal Court on Wednesday afternoon, and a $1 million bond was set.
Bond is set at $1 million cash or surety.
That's ridiculous.
What's ridiculous? Well, I'm not even gonna go there.
A second hearing was scheduled for Friday afternoon. The reaction to the news of the murder was overwhelmingly negative, with people expressing shock and disbelief. Joseph was last seen in school on April 13th, the final day of classes before spring break.
Tonight, a community in mourning. Police in the village of Wyndham and the Portage County Sheriff's Office worked quickly to make an arrest in a fatal stabbing. The prime suspect, the victim's own teenage brother.
After the news of Joseph's death was announced, Robert Dunn stated that the Southeast School District was reeling from the tragedy and that it had been a very emotional week for everyone at the school. He also stated that this was the second tragedy the district had to deal with in the last 5 or 6 years, and that the school has a crisis team in place, including counselors for students, to help deal with the aftermath of such events. The senseless killing of Joseph McCady has had a profound impact on the Southeast School District, as well as the community as a whole. Joseph McCady's death has sparked a nationwide discussion about the use of force by law enforcement officers and the need for increased police accountability. It has also highlighted the deep-seated racial tensions that exist in many communities and the urgent need to address systemic inequalities in the criminal justice system. These chilling 911 calls serve as a stark reminder of the devastating impact of violence and the importance of seeking help before it's too late. These events have left 2 families and communities forever scarred and torn apart. The loss of life is a tragedy, and the reasons behind these acts of violence are still being investigated. However, it is important to recognize the warning signs and seek help if you or someone you know is struggling with mental health issues or is considering violence.